Okay, let's talk about the Blazers. And yes, I know the way the title looks, but I'm not going to say that they should trade Dame, and I'm not saying Dame should ask for a trade. I'm more so saying that this situation's got to be better because Dame is awesome and all that stuff. But to give you a little preview of the offseason before I get to it in a few minutes, it is kind of tough to find the perfect moves for this team, as it is always with me, finding trades. They're currently, 5 games out of the play-in tournament, and Dame has been likely shut down for the season. That's what the reports say. Let's just talk about this team for a second, man. I think it's pretty cut and dry. Their defense is bad. They're 27th in the league right now, and I mean, there are some things about like their offense when Dame is off the court, but that's like normal, decent NBA team stuff. The defense just has problems. Some of it is due to a lack of size. I mean, you've got Nurkic, who's 6'11", 7 feet. Okay. You've got some forwards like in Jeremy Grant, Cam Reddish, who are around 6'8", 6'9". Shaedon Sharpe is 6'6". Like, normal size on the wing, but not overwhelming, I guess. Justice Winslow has had minutes this year. Of course, Josh Hart earlier in the year. Trenton Watford gets minutes now. Like, their wings are not, like, super small, but they're not super big either. Then when you combine that with Dame and Simons, who are smaller defensively and all that, and I think when those two especially, like, are put in help positions where they've got to, like, help from the corner or whatever, it's like, it does look kind of rough sometimes. I also think teams have had more success than you would really want if you're the Blazers in finding mismatches on Dame and Simons, where like Kawhi might be able to get a switch onto him, or there was a Laker game where LeBron was able to get a switch onto Dame a whole bunch of times in the fourth quarter, and there wasn't a whole lot of resistance. A Blazers fan did a great job of highlighting that on Reddit. I don't think that's the only problem with their defense, though. I do think that they still have a tendency to hedge with their centers sometimes, whether it's Nurkic or like Eubanks when he's at the 5 or whatever. And from there, you're just asking, like, sometimes Dame or Simons to be in a help position, which is not good. But even so, like, teams are just getting so many drives to the rim or cuts to the basket or whatever because this defense just has to be in scramble mode a little too often. Now, it's not only just the hedging. I mean, I remember last year my huge complaint with Chauncey was that their defense was just, like, straight up trapping too often, and I do think they calmed down a little on that. But as this year has gone on, like, I just think that they've experimented too much with helping too aggressively off of guys or busting out a defense that kind of looks like a zone, but it's not really a zone. It might just be asking like one guy to sort of free roam. And I mean, this is not like a foreign thing in the NBA. Teams try this, but I just think with this Blazers team, it just has not really worked. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that I was preparing for this video just looking at some of their clips defensively where it's like, oh, a Nurkic hedge? All right, somebody's going to score at the rim. Yep, there we go. Not to say they always do that. Like, I mean, if you look at their recent Clippers game, I think in the first half especially, like, Nurkic was dropping for a lot of that game. But even so, there were like a few random possessions where suddenly he was hedging, and then it's like, oh, somebody's going to get open for something. I guess that can lead into a talk about Nurkic. So, as I have seen people give their takes on the Blazers this year, I feel like Nurkic has been getting piled on a lot. And, okay, yes, Nurkic is not going to compete for an all-defense team. And if we start ranking centers in the league, you're naming a lot of guys before you get to Nurkic. With all that said, I just think Chauncey's game planning on top of this team being small in some areas makes it really tough for their defense to be good. With all that said, too, even if I'm going to be a little bit of a Nurkic defender, I also think that if the Blazers had an opportunity to get a really awesome defensive center, they should jump on it. Now, do I think that's actually going to present itself? Right now, it's tough to see. I mean, Pirtle just changed teams with the Raptors, of course. I don't think the Pacers are going to trade Miles Turner. I also would not predict the Hawks looking to move Capella or Okongwu. So I don't know. To go to the rest of this thing, look, Anthony Simons, because I've seen a little bit of people being like, should they trade Simons? I think they need him on offense too much, man. I mean, I get it. Defensively, him and Dame, yeah, they're small and all that stuff, but if they don't have Simons, it's going to be even easier for teams to trap Dame and put the Blazers offense in like a what the hell do we do now mode, on top of, I don't know if you could ever have a good offense with Dame off the court if Simons was not on this team. So they're kind of in a tough spot. I mean, they've also got Jeremy Grant's contract coming up, and they also need Grant, and he's probably going to be asking for, at the minimum, I don't know, $26 million a season or whatever, because he was getting 20 a year, and then he started scoring a whole lot more. So they're in a tough spot. I mean, they don't really have like that $15 million contract that you can just throw in a trade. I mean, they have Nurkic, but I mean, you can't trade him without getting at least a decent center back, you know what I mean? And like, sure, you have Thibault now, who actually has been good from 3 with them, so that is pretty encouraging. He's going to be a restricted free agent. I'm going to assume you don't have to break the bank for Thibault, but, I mean, you got to pay him something, of course. I don't know, man, it's tough. Like, for me, it's, if Chauncey's still here, I'm not very optimistic about this team's defense, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to fire Chauncey. Maybe I'll be wrong on that one. I've been wrong about many things. which then leads to their draft pick. So they're going to have their pick this year. It's going to be in the lottery. We'll see. I mean, hell, if they end up getting Wembanyama, then just disregard everything I said in this video. But realistically, they're going to get like number 5 or something. And so then it becomes a matter of like, well, look, with Dame's age and all that, would you trade the 5th pick in the draft for an immediate improvement? I mean, I know they were rumored for OG Anunoby a year ago, and apparently the Raptors got like the 3 first-round picks offer that they wanted, and they still didn't move Anunoby if those rumors were true. Granted, some of those were probably like late firsts and protected firsts and whatever else, but I think that's just kind of where you're forced to be at if you're the Blazers. Like, I think if you really want to go for this last hurrah of Dame's career, because he's still awesome, there's no doubt, then you're just going to have to get aggressive with moves here. But as I just spent the last couple minutes being like, well, listen, trading Simons, if there's a noticeable improvement to be had and it's like for like a two-way player, great. I don't know if that's out there. I don't know if the great defensive center trade is going to be out there either. It's just like you're kind of stuck in this spot where the guys that you have, you kind of need them, but also the perfect version of this team has better players, and it's a whole thing. Anyway, to be optimistic at the tail end here, Shaedon Sharpe's good. He's a super athlete. He can make tough shots. I think there's potential for him as honestly like a help defender, given how high up in the air he can get and his wingspan and all that. But his decision-making, his playmaking, all that, we'll see. I mean, right now he's got basically as many turnovers as assists, which is like a normal rookie thing, but it's still something he's going to have to get through. So there you go, man. You know, admittingly, it is a bit of a bummer to see Dame just in this sort of situation, but as far as him changing teams, I mean, if he doesn't want to go and they don't want to trade him, I don't know what to tell you. Now, if that changes, okay, but that's just where it's been at.